There we go. Should be picking up here. All right, we should be live on YouTube. Let me verify. Still starting soon. I just reloaded the status page and it started the live counter over. Good. There we go. We should be live on YouTube and Twitch now. Finally, welcome everyone to the Foolish Tech Show. Sorry for the delayed start there. We had quite a few things going on, and YouTube itself actually has been acting a little bit funky lately. Like when you start a live stream, it acts like it's about to start, but then usually it automatically starts if you have it scheduled, but then sometimes it doesn't, and then you have to try to manually force it to start, and then it sometimes doesn't like that. So looks like we should be all good on there. But it is a Tuesday morning, and we're here mainly to provide you with support and answer any questions about our products and services. If you do have any of those, you can feel free to jump over to our IRC chat at foolishtechshow.com. We have a couple ways you can join our IRC from there, and we'll be more than happy to talk directly to you about any of our products and services. And feel free to interrupt whatever random shop talk we may be participating in the time to have us focus on those instead. Otherwise, as mentioned, we will probably just fill the air with random shop talk, and if you'd like to participate in that, you can also join the IRC. We always welcome the company and communication with our community. But just keep in mind that any opinions expressed here are of the individual that expressed them and not the company itself. So on that note, how's everyone doing today? That good, huh?
Yeah, absolutely great.
Doing okay. My son had a test overnight, a sleep test overnight to test for sleep apnea, and I've been awake all night, or most of it.
Oh, that doesn't work out well. You're like, you get done with it, and you're like, I think I may have a condition.
Yeah. My condition was my son slapping me in the face all night long.
Oh boy.
Trying to keep him from pull wires off his head.
Well, and Johnny is currently undergoing hospital and such at the moment as well. So hopefully everything goes well there. But in other good news, we have the bulk version of CryptoPrevent 8 out. It's available for purchase at our site now. I'll link you to the page there here in just a second. And also, any versions of CryptoPrevent should be automatically updating. You can also hit the update button, and it should try to update. Just keep in mind that our update server's currently pretty slammed, even with the slow controlled rollout. Opening at full throttle is still got a lot going on with it. So if you don't get the update immediately, or they says there's an issue downloading it, wait a couple hours before you try again. Don't just hit the update button over and over and over again. it'll make it so that everyone and yourself gets it a lot faster and make sure nothing goes wrong during that time. So that is good news. And then we have more coming with that, so stay tuned to our newsletter, and we'll probably have a bigger announcement on the show tomorrow. But we should have a newsletter out about the other updates after that. So good stuff there. We've done extensive testing since the release in October, November last year, and we've made a lot of improvements. I know the release notes don't reflect that, and I just updated it with a sorry it doesn't reflect that, but going forward we'll have more complete release notes on any of the additions. Just know that lots and lots of changes have been made, improvements have been made, and things have been added here and there as well. So good stuff, and we'll probably do a CryptoPrevent overview video. I know the one that we have right now is kind of blurry, so we'll get a full one of that out, and then also go through the bulk purchase process so that you'll be able to look at that. I think our white label one is okay, but I might want to do just a standalone video of that as well. So very good stuff there. Definitely, if you haven't upgraded to version 8, go ahead and try to get it now and let us know how it's going. Other than that, I saw a pretty good deal come across the wire this morning. Ghacks.net has a link to get 63% off private internet access. So that's a 2-year subscription for $59.95, and they point out that it is more expensive than those $20 for lifetime VPNs. But honestly, I've been using private internet access for almost a year now, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. They have the ability to run it on phones, tablets, computers. You get up to 5 devices, I believe. Yeah, 5 devices for your connection, so you can actually have 5 devices connected to this at one time. I absolutely love it for my cell phone, especially if I go out and about. I can make sure that that's turned on first, and then I don't have to worry about connecting to public Wi-Fi's and things of that nature because everything's encrypted and secured. Michael used to have it. I'm not sure if he still does or not, but it was a great service for him as well. And he convinced me to switch over from the one that I was using. And I've had another friend that uses them a lot, and I think was the reason that I convinced Michael to get it, if I'm not mistaken.
I was extremely satisfied with them. I'm not currently still with them, but I was very happy when I was, and it provided everything I needed. They had a strong customer service as well if there was any issues, and I was setting up a gateway at the time, an OPN Sense box, and so I had some questions related to that, and they were very helpful in that regard, even despite most of it just being a lack of experience on my end getting that implemented. Also, as Brantley said, their cross-platform support is wonderful in it. I even saw support of it, at least briefly, on the Kodi platform, although they did try to remove that. I don't know where that currently stands, but I commend them for at least the effort initially. Yeah, it's a good choice. I would just be very leery of the fly-by-night guys that pop up and offer everything under the sun, for little or nothing. And
yeah, the lifetime ones I'm very worried about. They've also had a case in the U.S. where records were tried to pull, and that's really one of the only ways you can verify that they don't actually keep logs, is they weren't able to give the FBI any information for the case because they don't keep any logs. So they also do support P2P, so you can use torrenting, downloading for legitimate uses, because that's all you should be torrenting. But I really haven't seen any issues with speed degradation when I use them either. So extremely fast servers. They have servers all over the world, so more than likely you'll be able to find one that gets you a good speed and connection. Like I said, I've not even really seen the 10% decrease in connectivity speed when I've been using it. So
Is this
actually,
the one you've been using for a long time?
yeah, I've only had it for about a year. Previous to that, I had the one that came with Popcorn Time just because I wanted to support them.
Gotcha.
But let's see if I can do a speed test right now and tell you the exact differences on their speed versus my straight connection here. Because I actually use a virtual machine that has it on all the time and works pretty well there. Because I don't want all my traffic going through a VPN. I have specific I prefer to keep VPN'd. And let's see. While we wait on that, though, it is a good point to note that that is probably a good recommended setup, is not to have all of your devices going through a VPN connection. That kind of alerts people that, hey, everything you're doing could be under suspicion. But it also helps it so that your ISP doesn't know what you're doing. But there's some things like the selection testing of, or what's it called, Michael, when they check where one IP connected and where it connected to or came out of. There's a specific word for that. That's how they do the Tor de-anonymizing. You're muted.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Anyway, there is an attack that you can do that it. Oh man, I shouldn't have done both those tests at the same time. That doesn't make sense. There's a test. There's a attack that you can do where you're seeing if one IP is connected to a location, and then seeing if that location has gone out. And there's some timing attacks that can be done there to kind of correlate somewhat a person individually to certain things. However, you kind of got to be nation state level to be able to do that. So on my VPN connection, it looks like I get 39 megabits per second down, 4.2 megabits per second up. And on my current connection, I get 60 down, it's looking like. So there's a little bit of degradation, but I mean, you got to remember that you're going through your ISP to another server and then out through the internet to the place you're wanting to go, then coming back and going back. So can be expected to see some speeds. Plus, I'm also streaming and doing all kinds of other things with that. Well, let's see what my final test ends up being here. So 39 and 4 on the VPN connection. It looks like I might be going down to 40 or so on the standard connection too here. Man, it's taking a while to finish the speed test. Well, while we wait on that info, I guess we'll talk about something else as well, but that is a good deal. I think I was paying $40 a year for it, so $60 for 2 years is pretty good deal, but even at 40, it's a dang fine deal as well.
Raspberry Pi Foundation launched the Compute Module 3. Thought you might want to mention that.
Yep. So I had not even known about the Compute Module 3 or the compute modules in general, but essentially that's a
It's an industrial design form factor for the Pi. Basically brings the Pi 3's capabilities to that. Previously, I don't know, I guess they were more like Pi 2 performance or something like that, or maybe even less.
but it almost looks like it's about Pi 0 size, maybe just slightly bigger.
Yeah, it has,
The key
but it
there
has separate
is,
breakouts for I/O connectivity. So,
well, the key there is it has pin, like it's like a RAM chip almost. Like you have to slide it into a slot, and you have to have that bus available. So
yeah. So the cost is low, but if you consider that they were able to remove so many components, it actually seems like it's a little bit high. But I'm not clear. It may also be if is for industrial usage, there may be higher tolerances for it, and it is sometimes impressive to see higher performance parts in those applications because they usually sacrifice a little bit of performance for endurance, if you will. But depending, it's probably still a good in comparison to others. It's probably, and particularly in comparison to the previous one, which again, there's supposedly close to a twofold improvement in performance and a twofold increase in memory capacity and more flexibility with the storage as well. Now, they previously were just eMMC, and now you can do an SD as well as eMMC. So
yeah,
those are all good points.
they had said that they had a lot of complaints about having just the 4 gigs of eMMC on there. So that's why they offered the SD card option now.
Well, you'll note that most the smallest ones that are typically being offered up in kits and everything else are 8 gigs, and I believe there's reasons for that because certain distributions and other things may require a little bit more space. So
yeah, it does run Windows IoT though, and as far as I understood, it's kind of more designed and purpose built for building a IoT style device. Like it's not really something you want to put a full Linux distro on all the time. I mean, you could have a Linux distro on it, but it's not like.
Yeah, industrial applications, that's usually not an IoT.
Well, I mean, from what I was reading, it was.
I mean, it can. You're right. It can run that, but
Yeah, well, they're targeting the IoT style market, so it's not that it's specifically for IoT, but industrial applications means that you can take this compute module, put it in your product, and have all the computing power of Raspberry Pi 3 in your product. So,
okay.
So like if you're designing anything that needs computing power, then you can add that in and it'll be there, which is a dang good deal. So otherwise, Bleeping Computer had a couple interesting links here. Let's lead off with the most important one. Looks like McDonald's official website exposes passwords in clear text, and looks like it's just a URL that you enter in and it will give you the clear text of that password. So I'm assuming you add the user and go from there, and it gives you a clear text password. So it's a XSS bug, so cross-site scripting bug. Hold on a second.
Cross-site scripting. I'm a big fan of the, if you use Firefox at least, of the NoScript plugin, and it has specific protections against cross-site scripting. So you can mitigate those types of things with the plugins like NoScript, or I recommend NoScript. It seems to be the leader of the pack in that regard.
Yep, so that's good. Not good for McDonald's, but please, hopefully you're not using your same password at McDonald's as you are for your bank and other passwords. Like, please, hopefully you're not doing that. You should have different passwords for every site. I know that's hard, but you can use KeePass and it makes it a lot easier. We did a video on that. Otherwise, I thought this was an interesting one as well. Apparently, a Dutch developer added backdoors to websites that he built and fished over 20,000 users, starting all the way back in November 2014. So he had backdoors in any of the websites that he coded and built, and basically took passwords and phished people and emails and all kinds of stuff from that. So be wary of who you outsource to in those situations, I would say. And then a final one from Bleeping here. It looks like people are going on, malicious malware authors are going on places like VirusTotal and abusing comments and marking websites dangerous for security vendors, or security researchers. So if you're out there trying to make it harder for malware authors, they're out there basically spamming your stuff and trying to make it so that VirusTotal, which Google and several others use as their main source of checking and seeing if things are legitimate or valid or not.
Yeah. Speaking of which, there are, this actually affects us to some extent. There was a number of spammed, or not spammed, but there's a number of websites that are claiming to offer CryptoPrevent version 8. They're showing a picture of CryptoPrevent version 4 in it and offering an illegitimate download link. And the sites are laced with malware and advertising. So, yeah, please avoid that and only obtain our software from our website.
Or Major Geeks, which we need to probably update the Major Geeks one. Speaking of which. But yeah, if you get it from our site, you'll know it's legitimate. And also, just to note, there's no portable edition of version 8. There's the protections that are included in it are more valuable being installed, and it just doesn't make sense to have a portable version of it. So it's very low profile though, so having it installed shouldn't be that big of an issue. And the folder watch protection is the main protection, and it requires a service to be installed, so you'd have to have it installed, not in a portable edition style, so keep that in mind. Let's see what else we got here. Apparently I can't do the speed test on my computer, so because we're doing too much streaming and all that stuff, but usually my speed test is about 60 and 4, so I lose about 20 megabits per second on the VPN download side, but honestly I really haven't noticed a difference or issue with it, so just keep that in mind. And obviously it works a lot nicer because it actually completed the speed test on the VPN. It won't even do it on my regular computer. I thought this was interesting. My McDonald password. That should be good, Glenn. It doesn't matter if it's obscure. It's visible in clear text now. So you just want to make sure that you're not using my McDonald password anywhere else, Glenn. Anyway, I thought this was fairly interesting. Apparently, Apple is hiking prices in the App Store of the UK by 25% because of Brexit. Apps that were £0.79 are now £0.99. So I thought that was a strange way that Brexit affected people, is that their app store went up in prices. similarly, the Super Mario Run, which is the popular new Nintendo app, is normally £7.99. Now it's £9.99. So it looks like they're making it close to the pound being the same as $1. It's kind of strange. Oh, the pound slipped to a 31-year low against the dollar last week.
Yeah.
What does that put it at?
Also, too, Apple is raising its App Store prices in Europe and Britain or in Britain, excuse me, not Europe, Britain, India, and somewhere else, Turkey, I think it was. And yeah, the prices are huge. They're anywhere. They're all like upwards of 25% increases on what they were previously. So
wow, yeah,
that whole, maybe they should have rethought that whole Brexit thing before they rushed to leave the European Union.
the pound is down to $1.24 in US dollars, and euros at $1.07 in US dollars.
Yeah. There's almost a parity between the US dollar and the British pound, and that's hadn't been the case in my entire life as far as I'm aware. So yeah, that's it's pretty bad, and this is gonna, this affects pretty much everything. That, I mean, unless wages increase or something else offsets this, it's going to be a significant financial disaster for many millions and millions and millions of people.
Looks like Bitcoin has gone up because of it, though. It's at $888 now.
Yeah, that's good. It's rebounding a little bit, although it's still significantly lower than its previous peak of above 1,000, I believe.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah, Quark, $1.07 for a euro. That's crazy.
I got an interesting little take. We keep talking about cyber attacks and things like that, and we've mentioned, and we've even talked about it on the show, infrastructure. But it's always important to put things into perspective. And there was an interesting presentation apparently given by a security group that would indicate that there's far more damage done by squirrels, I mean, those little furry tree rats, than any cyber attack that's happened, even if you consider the false stories of, like, there was claim that the dam in New York was taken out by Iran or something like that, which never happened. But even taking those into consideration, it's still squirrels do far more damage. So
is that in relation to like chewing the lines and stuff, or?
So they, yeah. So
I mean, they're not like going on hacking computers and taking down nodes.
They take, for instance, the USA has one success story of the whole Stuxnet thing that took out Iran's stuff. There's no evidence that Russia or China has ever succeeded in taking out any power infrastructure or any other infrastructure in this country. And then they list several animals, all of which have relatively large numbers, going from things like the rat, which has 36 incidences of success, to squirrels, which have 879 incidents of success. Yeah. So now that's not the only way to measure things, and even one success that's significant or widespread could easily, offset, the 879 small incidences where a squirrel caused a power outage.
Man, our animals are way more fierce. Looking at that map. Our animals have taken out most of our stuff. Maybe we should add some metal shielding to these kind of things or something like.
Well, exactly. I mean, protecting them from cyber threats is certainly a concern, and like I said, there's the potential for greater possible damage.
You keep saying cyber threats, though. I mean, Like you're making it sound like the squirrels are like getting on computers and taking them down. Like they're not
No,
in cyberspace at this point.
no,
They're just
no,
taking
no,
out
no.
physical infrastructure. I wouldn't even say that's a cyber attack. I would just say that's a physical attack. Like
Yeah,
it's
a physical attack. But again, to put things into perspective, we may want to, instead of investing, billions of dollars into cybersecurity upgrades, maybe we could spend a little bit less and at least protect from the rats or the squirrels. Now, Future Tech Squirt has a good point. Maybe it is more successful. Maybe animals are just generally overlooked, and maybe instead of attempting to carry on a cyber war, maybe we should just develop a rat that seems unnaturally attracted to power lines.
yeah, that's what Quark suggested. However, looking at that map, I'm thinking there might have already been done that. Possibly these squirrels
You
and
think the
birds.
foreign nations are engineering our
I
squirrels?
You don't know, man. The Nazis did some crazy things. It wouldn't be unlikely that they like set off generations of animals and sent them over on ships and stuff, and now they're just breeding and they've been activated or whatever. It's possible. It's very possible. And then on top of that, yeah, Russia and China, they could all be doing gene therapy stuff and making new animals. They have less restrictions over there on that stem cell research. So.
There's tons of animal technology stories like the Swan, not so much technology, but animals cause a huge issue for our infrastructure. You just don't usually think about it too much, but it's something we've dealt with from probably the beginning, since the Industrial Revolution, probably, or not, if not earlier.
Glenn just sent this on my to my Twitter account. Here you go. There's your cyber warfare squirrels. So they are getting on computers. It possibly is cyber warfare. Glenn found the picture, so it did happen.
I don't know, a statement like that. Just because there's a picture on the internet does not necessarily mean something happened.
Hey, pictures or it didn't happen, and it obviously did happen. So, he's got another one. Let's see what we got here. Oh, that's way better. This is an artist rendition of the squirrel cyber warfare. So it's definitely something that's going on. It's very possible. I like the artist rendition having the ski mask on the squirrel. That
Definitely changes things. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
they're serious. They're serious when they put on ski masks. Yeah.
Man, I should start coding in a ski mask. Products way more.
Oh boy.
Good stuff, Glenn. Thank you for that. Well, in better news, caffeine studies have shown that it may counter age-related inflammation. So you may want to up your caffeine intake.
One thing I thought was interesting, and it apparently there is something internal. When I read this, there is something internal that goes along with it, because it wasn't like it didn't happen for absolutely everyone. But it does seem to be an overwhelming correlation between it and what they studied there.
Well, they focused on coffee. I'm not a big fan of coffee, so most of my caffeine intake comes in through soda. But I've even been trying to get away from soda more and more, and I've been considering just using the straight caffeine pills and going that route. I've done that before. It's just my only issue with those is it's super easy to overdose on those, and like not like you end up in the hospital overdosing on caffeine, but like you end up with like cerebral palsy caffeine almost, like jitters and shakes and you get really hot and sweaty and all kinds of stuff. So be very careful if you try to go the caffeine pill route. But and that's like not taking a bunch. That's like just taking one, and it can happen from that. So, but yeah, coffee or caffeine can possibly increase your longevity, and also it's been shown to decrease inflammations that are related to age. So, yeah, that's good. Good news. And in good news as well, Lifehackers got a list of all the times you can go and visit national parks for free. Most recent one was yesterday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Next one coming up is President's Day. And then April, you get 2 weekends of free admission, one weekend before National Park Week and the weekend after National Park Week. But if you live in the U.S., highly recommend you go to your closest national park and check it out and enjoy it. That's what it's there for. I've been to several, and I haven't had a bad experience at one yet. So the only time I was ever taken aback at even the price was the Rocky Mountain National Park, and honestly, that is still worth the $20 that you have to pay to get in there. So, national parks are awesome. Highly recommend it if you're in the U.S. to go check one out. Go ahead and plan for President's Day. That's the next one coming up that's free. Or otherwise, just go out to one and pay for it. It's normally always worth the investment, and you're helping out making the park better for everyone into the future if you do that. I even purchased a year pass to all the national parks when I was living in Colorado so that I could get in and out of Rocky Mountain National Park easily, which I think a year pass was only like $60. Like a lifetime pass is like $120 or something like that. But national parks are awesome, man. There's so many good ones out there. Depending on where you live, there's almost always one, at least in your state, if not fairly close by. And I've been actually marking a bunch on Google Maps that I want to visit. And I think a lot of the great ones that I haven't seen or want to go to are over in the Utah, Arizona, and Colorado area. Most of the ones I've been to in the Colorado area, I've been to one or two in the Utah area, and one or two in Arizona. But yeah, that out west they got really nice ones. Lots and lots of stuff you can see and go to. But they have them scattered all over. I guess if you're in Kansas or Oklahoma, you don't have any national parks. Iowa, maybe North Dakota. So yeah, if you're in one of those states, I guess you got to go east or west. But they are scattered around, and they're almost always worth a venture, especially to get out and get back to nature before it's all gone. I thought this was a pretty interesting one as well. Hey Glenn, this relates to you. You may want to go over to this place. There is a aquarium in Townsville, Australia. Let's see where that's at. Is that close to you, Glenn? Townsville, Australia? You know I'm terrible at Australian geography, so.
Yeah, well, it's so crazy. Life always finds a way.
Yeah, no, this is literally Jurassic Park quote happening. So it looks like it's in northeast Queensland. Oh yeah, Glenn did leave. Oh yeah, dang. Sorry. Bye, Glenn. Oh yeah, he did leave. I saw you. Anyway, he'll probably check it out later. But yeah, there's a aquarium in Townsville, Australia, that's had a zebra shark for a few years. I don't see exactly. It's about almost 4 years being separated from the male, and it ended up giving birth to, what was it, 3 babies?
Yes, 3.
Yeah, so apparently they looked into it and found that it actually
Happened, yeah. It wasn't.
figured out how to achieve asexual reproduction. So
They confirmed there was no genetic material other than the mother and the offspring. So that wasn't a case. It's an interesting idea they had, though. Maybe possibly the sperm was being kept somewhere, just stored away
yeah.
for later use. But no, that's not the case. Now, this is not, it's known to happen, but usually typically happens in less complex animals.
Yeah, it looks like sharks, turkeys, Komodo dragons, snakes, and rays have the ability. And that's vertebrate species. Obviously, frogs, if you've watched Jurassic Park, have that same ability.
There are others, yeah, but it's increasingly in the vertebrate side. Yeah, there's only a few known cases, but it makes you wonder, if we trapped a human away for a long enough period of time without interaction.
No, man. I was gonna say I hope not. Man, can you imagine crazy ex-girlfriends or something? Or even worse, that means it could possibly be you. You could have one, Michael.
Okay.
I think you might be pregnant. And you're like having to tell yourself that in the mirror.
I'll have to test that.
Yeah. You should actually try out pregnancy tests. That can give you an early warning sign of testicular cancer.
Jeez.
What is there?
It's interesting. It actually doesn't change the whole process all that much. Apparently, there is a something called a polar body that fertilizes the egg, but it only has the mother's genetic material. So that's interesting. I don't know all those details.
Michael, I'm sure you heard about this, but I want to get your opinion on it.
Okay.
The Venus gravity wave.
Yeah, I heard about it, but I was a little unclear. First of all, we've only just detected gravity waves, and so I thought that was still
Not the same kind. Not the same
okay.
kind of gravity wave.
Okay. Then I need to reread this a little bit more closely to understand it more.
Yeah, those gravity waves are, time-space warping gravity waves. This is physical warping gravity wave, and it's in quotes gravity wave, not not the Einstein theoretical.
Okay, well now it makes a lot more sense, because otherwise I would have it would have been a far larger story.
Still doesn't make a lot of sense though, because it's apparently 6,200 miles long, and it's not moving at all, despite Venus having 225 mile per hour winds surrounding it. So it's definitely a very strange anomaly. The Japanese spacecraft detected it, and they have a picture of it. You can't really tell what's going on, but you can definitely see a long line bending, and it obviously looks like things are pushing up against it. So it definitely looks strange. And
Well, remember,
find more about.
Venus has a incredibly dense atmosphere. We may just not understand some of the processes, and it's also closer to the sun. It's extremely hot, not just because of its vicinity to it, but because of the because of the dense of the atmosphere. And I'm wondering if this is just some odd clumping like what we see with Jupiter, you know, and gas giants and things like that. Maybe something like that is going on, even though Venus is a relatively solid core body, solid body.
Well, it says here, reading a little bit more into it, it looks like they believe it's about 40 miles above the scorched surface.
Yeah, so it's like an atmospheric
The
thing. Yeah.
bright, unusually warm region is actually across the top of Venus's clouds, and it takes up nearly the entire diameter of the entire planet.
Oh, I didn't know this. A single Venetian day lasts longer than an entire Venetian year.
It didn't move despite background surrounding atmospheric winds, remains stationary above a mountainous region on the planet's surface. Prior to this observation, scientists observed a number of small-scale atmospheric features that move either faster or slower than the prevailing wind.
So, you know, like the big storm on Jupiter, I mean, I'm sure there's other little minor little things that happen as well, but you know, there does seem to be that bigger one. It could be something, you know, along those lines, something where just because of, you know, random chance that these smaller anomalies maybe collided and formed a larger one, possibly. You know.
who knows? I'm pretty sure it's aliens, so they're ramping up to.
Not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. Yeah.
They're ramping up to make the jump over to Earth. They're like, oh, that planet's finally warming up. So see, it was actually the Venus aliens that have been causing global warming. They're trying to make a new home of the planet Earth. So they want to make it the same as Venus. Other news here. Bleeping Computers shows that about 1 in 6 accounts are secured with password 123456. Same thing as my luggage. They got a list of the top most common passwords for 2016, and man, really, people, you're using 123456 as a password still in this day and age? What sites even allow you to use just numbers anymore? Like, how can you have accounts that are doing that? Again, though, highly recommend checking out KeePass and setting up all your accounts for it. It's a little bit of a process to go through the first time, especially if you're like my grandfather, who has apparently 150 different sites that he signs into. He showed me his list, and I was like, seriously, this is more than I have. How did you do this? He's like, you know.
All those dating sites, huh?
Yeah, I'm sure. No, yeah, so KeePass is awesome, super awesome program. We did a video on it September 26th of last year. I got the link for it here if you want to go back and review it. But I mean, it does take a little bit of time to get set up the first time, but then it makes it very easy to manage and change your passwords going forward in the future. And it secures all your passwords with one nice passphrase there, so you don't have to remember them all anymore. You can keep them all in one place and just remember one password. So, and if you're using things like a YubiKey, you might not even have to remember that one password. That's pretty cool. What else we got out here? Let's see if anything new's come across the wire. Well, that's an interesting title. So make use of article says, still using Wikipedia? These alternatives are more reliable. Let's see what alternatives they're saying. For casual research, they recommend fandom.wikia.com for TV shows and actors. Academic research, they say Wikipedia is a great starting point, but many universities offer free access to database searches like JSTOR, PsycInfo, EBS, CO host. If you don't have access to those, Google Scholar is also a great resource tool, and Wolfram Alpha. WikiHow is a better option than Wikipedia. YouTube is a better option for practical insights. Then they give you a couple of the best ways to use Wikipedia.
YouTube.
Hey man, you can find a lot of good stuff about practical insight on YouTube.
Yeah, but if the point of this article is more reliable, I don't know that a random YouTube video was necessarily going to cut the mustard in that regard. But anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
I mean, sure, there's got to be some
time to make
really
a
good
YouTube video about it. There's probably a little bit of stuff behind it. So
I would trust the things like Google Scholar and the Wolfram Alpha stuff in those databases, the school database, yeah, those things. But that's a little bit disturbing. And in other words, why, I just believe that those databases should be accessible to everyone. Really not clear why they have.
So did what's his name? You saw what that got him. What was that guy's name, John? The hacker guy wanted free access to stuff. MIT.
Aaron Swartz.
Aaron Swartz. Thank you. That's what he wanted, was to have those databases accessible to everybody. And did not turn out well for him.
There was an interest. I don't know, you guys. I know you're interested in him, and I saw a recent article on him. Don't know if that's of any interest to you guys.
Possibly. It is. If you don't know about him, I highly recommend you watch the Anonymous documentary on it. It's really good. And he is a amazing person in general. So.
Yeah. So this was on the anniversary of his suicide. So. That's why this article is.
His death.
Yeah,
not suicide. Death.
Michael, he's correct in saying that.
It's officially documented as a suicide.
Well, yeah, officially, and that's part of the issue, is the official.
Yeah. Yeah, that means you haven't watched the Anonymous video.
Because they say everything 100% true.
No, but I mean,
But so does our official statement on the government. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You're saying that the government is to believe more than the supposed perpetrators of those who killed him, or because they were enemies, and but we're going to take their word for it that he committed suicide.
Well, I mean, then nobody commits suicide. It's all, it's all somebody else planting, that they were out to get that random person down the street that committed suicide.
Hey, what the hell are you talking about?
I mean, no, this is...
Who is nobody? People commit suicide all the time. This is not nobody. This was not nobody. This is not you, Michael.
This is it's a situation where
suicide.
It possibly could have been staged. Like it's a small possibility, but there is a possibility that it could have been.
I don't think it's that small.
Set up. Yeah. But I mean, even if it wasn't, he was essentially facing like years in prison and unimaginable fines and things, and they were trying to make an example of him. And for a person of that type, it's hard to take a pawn on. Anyway, for some somewhat good news about the government, it looks like Congress might actually start working again.
You're kidding. They work?
Apparently, after taking an 8-year break, they've decided that they're going to start doing stuff again.
They gotta work. They gotta work again. No,
Yeah.
no administration. Dang it, we gotta get back to work for a little while and make them think we're doing something.
Yeah. But this one is interesting because it does affect a lot of people in the
changing the salary of the H-1B workers.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought that this might actually be something that could work.
So essentially, as I was about to explain before Michael got super excited and blurted everything out, essentially what's going on with the H-1B1 program is a lot of tech companies are hiring outside foreign employment to come and fill jobs in America. And currently the minimum wage is slated at $60,000 to try to make that seem less a good option to people. Because I mean, tech workers could be making $80,000-$90,000, and if you replace someone that's making $80,000-$90,000 with a foreigner that's willing to work for $60,000, obvious business choice there. They end up going with the foreign worker instead of keeping the native worker. But with this, that would force them to offer $100,000 a year. So maybe put them more in terms of the people that they're replacing. So it's still just an act bill being introduced. Looks like it's got bipartisan support as far as the people that are introducing it. But yeah, that's actually something good. And honestly, I think that's the first time I've said that about Congress in almost 8 years at least. So maybe there's a change of winds coming. We'll see what happens. As long as the world doesn't self-destruct in 3 days. See what else we got, if anything. We are about our hour time limit, but we did start a little bit afterwards. Oh, here's one that just came across the wire. That's pretty cool. If you like taking photographs, apparently there's a map that lets you see hotspots around the world for great photography. Looks like the West Coast, as I had mentioned, those national park areas definitely got some red hotspots in them. Looks like Japan is another extremely popular area. The east coast of Australia and a lot of Indonesia area, it looks like. But well, it looks like Florida's a pretty big one on that map as well. Is this not the actual map? Dang it, that's a picture. Where's the actual map? Photo hotspots. No thanks, you don't need my location for this. So there's the actual map if you want to check that out. And looks like Europe's pretty popular there. Oh, surprisingly, there's nothing in my area. Not surprising at all.
Wait. What's this Chinese site you just put up?
It's shows you hotspots of pictures. You can go there. You're fine. Great Wall isn't going to stop you. That's interesting. There's a big spot in downtown Raleigh. Oh, the Outer Banks has got some hot spot too. That's cool. Let's see. Asheville's got some. Dallas is a highly popular place to take pictures. No, there's not as many as I would have thought in Colorado. I loved taking pictures there. That place was super gorgeous. A lot more in Salt Lake City. There's not that much to take a picture of in Salt Lake City. That's kind of confusing. California, obviously, the lower east or lower west coast of it is super popular, and Seattle's super popular, Portland's super popular. I could see that. Those were good picture taking places. I like taking pictures a lot though, so I'm really interested in this map. It's weird though that Europe has so much. I guess they do have a lot more stuff to take pictures of. I haven't been there, so maybe I would like taking pictures there.
Yeah.
Surprising Sweden doesn't have a lot. I actually have someone on my Instagram that lives in Sweden. That is a beautiful country. Super amazing, beautiful country there. So that's pretty cool. That looks like about all we got on the list here. Speaking of pictures, GHacks had a review on a fast thumbnail browser with extras. So if you got a folder with lots of pictures or thumbnails, supposedly this is a fast thumbnail browser called Unifie. Unifie, I guess is how you would pronounce it, but looks pretty cool. Makes it easy to browse through things, find the picture you're looking for. Cool deal there. Well, we are about at our hour time limit, so let's go ahead and wrap it up unless anyone else had anything last minute interest they wanted to shout out here. Not yet. Not yet. Cool. All right. Well, we will be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. for our Wednesday show. Thanks everyone for joining us and participating. Always much appreciated. We are mainly here to provide support and answer any questions about our products and services. If you do have any of those in the meantime, feel free to contact our support by visiting our website. And if you want to wait and talk to us directly, you can have the chance tomorrow at 2 p.m. We'll be more than happy to talk with you and work things out from there. Otherwise, hope you have a great rest of your week and hope your week has started off well. And we'll be back tomorrow. Take us on out, whoever's streaming that.